In June 1978, Argentina won its first World Cup. The final was played 700 meters from a torture camp. Inside their cells, political prisoners could hear every goal, and survivors later testified that on the night of the victory, they were taken from their cells and driven through the celebrating crowds, invisible to everyone around them. This is the story of the World Cup that saved a dictatorship. On March 24th, 1976, a military coup led by General Jorge Rafael Videla overthrew the government of Isabel Perón. The incoming military junta announced the process of national reorganization, a program presented to the public as a necessary restoration of order. In reality, it established a highly organized apparatus of state terror. The dictatorship immediately targeted students, trade unionists, journalists, and suspected leftists, treating any form of social or political dissent as a threat to the state. Between 1976 and 1983, human rights organizations estimate that up to 30,000 people disappeared. This was not a series of random excesses, but a calculated, state-managed campaign. Later federal trials established the precise, bureaucratic methods used to eliminate citizens. Detainees were taken to secret military detention centers, where they were tortured, killed, and erased from official records. Among the crimes later proven in court were the death flights, where prisoners were drugged and thrown alive from military aircraft into the South Atlantic Ocean. The regime also routinely stole babies born to imprisoned mothers, handing the infants over to military and police families to be raised under false identities. Years before a stadium turnstile opened, this machinery of repression was already fully operational. On March 24, 1977, exactly 1 year after the coup, investigative journalist Rodolfo Walsh published an open letter to the military junta. His text systematically detailed the regime's economic failures, strict censorship, and the clandestine network of kidnap and torture centers. The day after distributing his letter, security forces ambushed and shot Walsh dead on the streets of Buenos Aires. In April 1977, a small group of women gathered in the Plaza de Mayo, directly facing the presidential palace. Wearing white headscarves symbolizing their missing children, they began marching in quiet circles every Thursday. The military responded with targeted espionage. In December 1977, naval officer Alfredo Astiz infiltrated the group by posing as a grieving relative. His betrayal enabled the abduction of 12 activists, including the movement's founder and 2 French missionary nuns, Alice Doman and Leonie Duque. The victims were brought to the Navy Petty Officers School, known as ESMA. After interrogation, they were drugged, stripped, and thrown from military aircraft into the South Atlantic. 6 months after these executions, the World Cup began. Argentina had won the rights to host the 1978 tournament back in 1966. After the coup, the military kept the tournament, expanding it into a massive state project and pouring roughly $700 million into infrastructure. When General Omar Actis publicly questioned these ballooning costs, he was assassinated. To manage international backlash, the junta hired the American public relations firm Burson Marsteller on a $1.1 million retainer to paint Argentina as stable and modern. Across Europe, human rights groups fought back. Amnesty International launched a campaign under the slogan, "Football yes, torture no." Yet, every qualified nation still sent their teams. Dutch superstar Johan Cruyff stayed home, a decision widely reported as a political boycott, though Cruyff later revealed it followed an armed kidnapping attempt against his family. On June 1, 1978, General Jorge Rafael Videla stood inside the monumental stadium to open what the regime called the World Cup of Peace. 70,000 spectators watched as thousands of schoolboys performed choreographed routines and white doves rose into the sky. 40 blocks away, in an empty Plaza de Mayo, Dutch journalist Frits Barend filmed roughly 30 women wearing white headscarves, walking in silent circles. Plainclothes security men tried to shove the camera crew away, but the footage escaped, providing European television with its first clear look at the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo. Behind this carefully staged piece, the repression continued. On opening day alone, 2 young men vanished while handing out leaflets near the stadium. They were among 50 people who disappeared during the tournament month, yet the international illusion held. The coach of the Swedish team remarked that he saw nothing to suggest Argentina was anything other than a wonderful country. Just 700 meters from the turf of the monumental stadium stood the Navy Petty Officers School, known as ESMA. During the tournament, this clandestine camp held hundreds of its 5,000 total victims, of whom only about 150 survived. The physical proximity meant the games were inescapable. Survivors later testified in court that the roar of the crowds vibrated through the basement walls of their cells. Outside, the stadium itself had been renovated by laborers barred from unionizing and kept under armed military guard. Inside the camp, the terror became intimate. Torturers and prisoners watched matches together on television. When one detainee cheered an Argentine goal, a guard warned him it would be the last goal he ever celebrated. The machinery of state terror and the celebration of football occurred in the exact same space, separated only by a few hundred meters of city streets. On June 21st, Brazil's victory over Poland left Argentina needing a 4-goal margin against Peru to reach the final. Minutes before kickoff, General Videla reportedly entered the Peruvian dressing room, accompanied by former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. Peru had allowed only 6 goals across its previous 5 matches. That night, Argentina won 6-0. Around the time of the match, economic moves took place. A subsequent decree granted Peru a non-refundable credit, while reports emerged of an unverified 35,000-ton grain shipment. In 2012, former Peruvian Senator Genaro Ledesma alleged a secret deal, claiming the match was fixed in exchange for the detention of 13 Peruvian dissidents. Both governments have denied these assertions, and the alleged quid pro quo remains unproven. On June 25, 1978, Argentina faced the Netherlands in the World Cup final. The Dutch equalized in the 82nd minute and hit the post in the final moments of regulation, but Argentina secured a 3-1 victory in extra time. General Videla personally presented the trophy to the team. Years later, players acknowledged the regime used their victory for political gain. During the celebrations that night, guards took prisoners from the ESMA detention camp and drove them through the ecstatic crowds. At the closing banquet, Dutch journalist Frits Barend bypassed security to confront Videla directly, asking about the disappeared before guards pulled him away. The dictatorship collapsed in 1982 following the Falklands War. In 1985, the trial of the juntas convicted Videla of crimes against humanity. He died in prison in 2013, convicted of murder, torture, and baby theft. Today, the former torture center at ESMA is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, preserving the memory of those who never return. Today, the strategy refined in Buenos Aires remains highly effective. Authoritarian regimes still use global tournaments to mask domestic abuses. The games change, but the playbook is the same. When we cheer, what are we choosing to ignore? Share your thoughts below.